Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is set to be a film by director J.J. Abrams that will not only end the sequel trilogy, but will also have a lot of callbacks to the originals and the prequels. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, one great thing about Episode 9 is that we do know that J.J. Abrams is going to be introducing a lot of prequel trilogy continuity as well as original trilogy content in order to move the characters of Kylo Ren and Rey forward throughout the story from start to finish of the movie. And I think that's what's really interesting about all of this, is that it's really going to make this movie feel interconnected, not just to the prequels, but also to the originals and all other forms of Star Wars lore and canon. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the concept art descriptions, this is where things begin to get very exciting for this movie. Now, specifically, what's really intriguing is that a description of one of the opening scenes in the film, where it's described that Kylo Ren is sitting inside of his chambers, where he is holding the three halves of Darth Vader's lightsaber in his hand, where it's described to contain fragments of Darth Vader's kyber crystal. It said that as Kylo is holding the saber of his grandfather's, Darth Vader's breathing is audible to Kylo in a similar fashion of how it was done in The Force Awakens. It's described to be a sequence in which Kylo places the relic of Vader on one of the shelves in his chambers. Another sequence involves a rear shot of Kylo Ren watching the Knights of Ren put together the remaining pieces of Darth Vader's charred armor, where it said that a revised version of the Imperial March is said to be a part of the sequence during post-production. Lastly, one of the sequences goes over Kylo Ren having a nightmare similar to what Anakin Skywalker went through in the prequels, where it said that he is shifting around in his bed, where Anakin's screams are said to be faint but heard in the distance, with Darth Vader's breathing being the more prominent auditory hallucination for Kylo Ren. So I want to go over a couple of parts about all of this. Now, I really want to go over the Darth Vader lightsaber. Now, for the longest time, a lot of people have been wondering on how exactly would the lightsaber survive the Death Star 2 explosion in Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, right? Now, in the books, Aftermath and Empire's End, those types of books out there, at a certain point in time in one of those books, we do learn that the Acolytes of the Beyond actually collected Darth Vader's lightsaber. Somehow, some way, it survived the explosion. But in this whole entire scenario involving Kylo Ren inside of his chambers, we actually do get to learn that he owns the three halves of Vader's kyber crystal, or should I say the lightsaber, that involve fragments of Darth Vader's kyber crystal. So you can only imagine, what J.J. Abrams is trying to do in order to really make Darth Vader seem like a looming figure in the background. And I think that this is yet another great nod to that of Return of the Jedi that's going to change how we view the ending of the movie. After all, there are going to be a lot of Easter eggs and a lot of nods here and there, as well, as a lot of new surprises in this movie that are going to change how we view the original trilogy. So the other piece that I do want to go over that really does impress me a lot is the one that's described of Kylo Ren in his bed having a nightmare, similar to what Anakin Skywalker went through in, of course, the prequel trilogy era, where in this scenario, he's actually hearing the distant screams of Anakin Skywalker when he was burning on Mustafar, as well as Darth Vader's breathing being quite prominent in his actual nightmare in the form of an auditory hallucination of some kind. So, like I say, guys, we do know that these are all parallels that are being created by JJ. We do know that this movie's going to have a lot of those from the prequels, a lot of parallels, if you will, that's mainly going to be associated with Kylo Ren, right? Where Rey is going to have different parallels that are more so connected to the original trilogy, which is going to be a very interesting take by Chris and JJ. So the other piece that I would like to go over is how we also have a sequence in which he is viewing the Knights of Ren putting together Darth Vader's charred armor, the remaining pieces of it at least. Now, we actually went over this lightly before in the past, that Darth Vader's armor is going to be put back together again, almost like it's a scarecrow of some kind. Somewhat similar, in a strange way. I just thought about this right now. I think that we got this in Avengers, where we do see Thanos and his armor on like a picket thing in the field. So it's somewhat like that from what we are hearing. Everything is like that, where Darth Vader's, armor is going to be placed in the form of a figure, and the Knights of Ren are putting it back together. Now, the two pieces out of all of this that really do stand out to me the most is, of course, how Darth Vader's lightsaber, the three halves of them, are now in the hands of Kylo Ren, where he also owns pieces, actual pieces of the Kyber crystal, and the Nightmare, where he does in fact hear distant screams of Anakin Skywalker from Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, as well as Darth Vader's breathing. So like I say, guys, this seems to be the more horror element of Star Wars, the more horrific side of Star Wars in the actual movie by JJ, kind of similar to what he did with, of course, you know, the Force back vision for Rey when she's going down in the basement of Maz Kanata's castle. It had a little bit of a horror element to it, I will add that. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again. No.